Greetings from Ahsen Qazi. So today we'll be talking about I have a tool which is called the world of work. So this is called the world of work map. Okay, and we have different lands. We have meeting land, we have the land of solitude, we have team land, we have the continent of communication, and we have fulfillmentopia. Okay, so these are five lands. Now, this exercise you could do at your work, or you could do with your friends, you could do it with your family, or with your project people, wherever you are, if you're a project manager, or with just your project team. So, it's an excellent exercise which will let you overcome the barriers, in communication, in having excellent teamwork. So, let's see how this world of work map works. Alright. So the first land we have on the world of work is called meeting land. And what do you have in meetings? Meeting land? Of course you have meetings. You have meetings. Alright. So in meetings you can be in the valley of excellence or you can be in the cliffs of death. You could have excellent meetings which go very well. You know the agenda, everybody talks, nobody is silent, alright? And the communication goes very well, everybody shares their point of view, and everything is well managed and in time. And then you have meetings, once you're trying to convey your point of view and you don't get anything done. You've been trying for hours and hours and hours, and still you get no breakthrough. Now, these are called the cliffs of death. The cliffs of death, alright? So, you rather jump off a cliff, rather than attend that meeting. They go so wrong. So, you'd like to be in the valley of excellence as opposed to the cliffs of death. Now, just pause for a moment this video and think about those groups of friends, or where you have excellent communication, you communicate very well, or in your work environment, in those teams where you have in that group of people, in that meeting you had excellent results. All right. And then also think about those meetings which were a disaster, which were totally a disaster. Okay, pause this video and just note down those. Alright, so now we have moved from meeting land towards the land of solitude. Now the land of solitude is all about working alone. Once you're working alone, you can be in the productivity cave. You can be very productive, alright, you can have lots of productive actions. You can, you're being very creative, you're creating ideas, and you're creating new breakthroughs in your work. Or sometimes once you're working alone, you just feel so stuck and you can't get anything done. You're in the bottomless pit. You spend hours and hours, but you just can't seem to find the answer to the problem. Now you're in the bottomless pit. Alright, so just pause this video, and on the piece of paper you can note down what is that environment, or what were those circumstances, or what is that place where you have the most productivity once you're working alone, and what is that time or area or place where you lack productivity and you can't get anything done. So I hope you enjoy this exercise. Okay, now with that we move to team land. And what happens in team land? Of course you work in teams. So team land has two parts. You can be in the cooperation mountain, or you can be in the mountain of fire. Cooperation mountain, you have excellent communication with your team, and everybody knows what they have to do, and everybody is doing it in an excellent way. So that is cooperation mountain. And on the other hand, you have the mountain of fire. Your team is quarreling among itself. There's a lot of conflict on resources, on so many things are going wrong in your team, and people don't listen to you, and it's really hard for you to work in that team. Now pause this video and think about those teams, those groups of people you work with, where you have excellent teamwork, where you have excellent teamwork, and also think about those groups of people, those areas, those teams where you have so many problems. Now, let's move on to the next land. Now, this is called the continent of communication. So, we have two parts in the continent of communication: the forest of understanding, all right, and the swamp of darkness. So, once you're communicating, do you communicate in a natural way? Is it people understand you, people understand what you're saying, and they respond back? The communication is a two-way communication, or is it just one way? If it's one way, so you're probably in the swamp of darkness. They don't understand you, and that's what direct communication psychology is about, and that's the tools we have. We could help you conquer all these five lands and solve all these problems by using direct communication psychology. Okay. Now I'll be talking more about that later, but then let's move on to the final land, which is called fulfillmentopia. The fulfillmentopia is all about fulfillment. So again, it has two parts. So are you in the feel good jungle? Do you really feel good about that environment? Do you feel really good about that groups of people, that group of friends, all right, or your family members, that group of family members? Or you're in the desert of despair, you're despairing, you're trying to find your way out, and it's the communication, it just breaks down and everything, goes for a six. Does that happen to you? Sometimes, of course. Okay, so pause this video and note down those things which you did really well, and the environments which you didn't do really well. Now we've done all these lands, and as you can see in this map, we have uncharted waters as well. So we try to cover most of the parts, in the world of work. But in case you are having problems in certain aspects, those would be in uncharted waters. Those would be uncharted waters, and think about those problems, think about those areas, and note them down. That these things I can't negotiate, I can't find answers on your world of work map, and note them down. Now, I hope you enjoyed this exercise. Now, I want to ask you a question. How many of these problems which we talked about are people related? Most of you would answer 100%, and I would agree with you. And some of you would answer 80%. Of course, all these problems are people related, and that's why I talked about this, and we could help you solve all these problems in your work environment using direct communication psychology, using the colored brain, using the emotional drives. You could solve all these problems, and you could be successful in your relationships, in your work environment, and with your friends. Thank you very much for joining me for this video.